Hello, welcome to the very first episode of Her Stories with Josie Ng. I am an international creative designer, female founder, and conscious human. So, Her Stories is a collection of conversations with inspiring women through their personal and professional journeys from around the globe. And I am super excited today because we have our very first guest, Catherine of Stepping Up. Hi, Catherine. Thank you so much for being here. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? What do you do? Where are you located?
Hi, Josie. Oh, this is such a great, lovely opportunity. Thank you so much for inviting me in your first session. I am so honored to meet. I am Catherine. I am Indonesian, now based in France. I've been a little bit everywhere. I've lived in 6 countries before, and now I'm based in France. And yeah, I am a bit of everything. I am a mom of two. I am an entrepreneur. I am a recovering perfectionist. And I am very passionate about personal development and also about empowering people.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Cool. That sounds really inspiring. And I love that you have so many facets to your person as a profile, not only in the personal space, but also in the professional space. Do you want to dive a little bit more into what you do for work and what makes you so special in that area? And also, how are you helping people to achieve their dreams?
Yeah, I love that question. I will try to keep it short. So yes, a little bit about stepping up. This comes out of a personal journey. In 2018, I felt like I was at the top of the mountain. I was such a corporate warrior, and I didn't understand how I was not happy.
Mhm.
And I just felt so empty and I felt stuck. And I just really wanted to figure out what it was, because on the surface, I got it all,
Mhm.
and I think all my life I was really um, I thought I was very intentional in creating the life I wanted to have, but then I think at some point I had to unlock to the next level. I
Yeah.
think the universe wanted to bring me to the next chapter in my life. And so I was stuck, and then I had to work on myself. So I had this journey with my coach at the time, so about 4 years on, and I just really learned about myself more,
Yeah.
and that actually brought me to also inner healing and helped me to find myself again and reignite my spark in the professional world, and creating this new life, new chapter, because
Mhm.
it felt like I was on autopilot, to be honest. And then
Yeah.
I feel now that I can create this life of no limits,
Mhm.
um, life by design. Like, and I do want to design the next chapter of my life. So yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think what's quite interesting is that you mentioned that you were on top of the mountain, you had it all. And I feel like that's something, this concept that we have been prescribed to since we were born, basically. And even though we come from two different backgrounds, two different cultures and countries, that idea of having it all or like being successful is sort of a concept that crosses all continents and cultures. And it's actually almost universal in terms of what does having it all actually mean. And like, what was that point where you realized that actually this all wasn't the version or the concept of having it all meant for you? Like, how did you realize that even though you on paper had all these great things, like how did you realize that was not the definition anymore of what you wanted?
That's a great question. I think it really comes from the inside. I felt something really strong. It felt like an inner voice whispering. And at the time, I wouldn't call myself an intuitive person. So
Mhm.
it just really felt like there was this really strong voice whispering and telling me that something isn't right, something is off here. But also there's a series of me falling sick, falling. I had a lot of physical health issues. I didn't prioritize my health and myself, and perhaps there were many factors, right? But what comes up to my mind at the moment was really the time that I really just felt like there was this strong urge from the inside telling me that something was off. And I still remember that feeling until now. And I would now call myself I'm highly intuitive now, and I think in whatever things I do, yes, I do believe in the power of my mind, but I also believe in the power of my body, and listening to my body, my heart, in whatever decisions I make, because I think there is this superpower of combining the two. Yeah, so it's really as simple as that for me at the time. Strong urge inside of me telling me that stop lying to yourself, that you don't have it all, and yeah, like you're not happy, and to be true to myself more.
Yeah, and that's so inspiring because I feel that people tend to forget that they do have this intuition. And actually, everyone's inherently born with it. I think it's a process of actually remembering who we are and what we know deep within ourselves. And I think throughout all this corporate or all the conditioning that we go through in our life from childhood to today, there's just so much of that telling us like, oh, you should do this, you should do that. And as you know, should is a quite violent word through the
Mm.
nonviolent communication training. But it's quite interesting that this inner voice is no longer, just this tiny little whisper. It's actually getting louder and louder every day. And if you're not listening to it, it shows you in different ways in which you will listen, right? So when you're getting sick, when you're having burnout, it's physically putting you on the floor so that you will actually listen to your intuition and what your body and what your inner wisdom is telling you. So I guess
Yeah.
for people who are in this transition or in the beginning of their transition, who kind of know that there's something else out there, what advice do you have for them who, maybe they're struggling, they don't really know how to listen to their intuition, they have this voice inside of them, but they don't really know what to do next or how to do it, or maybe they're scared. So what advice do you have for people who don't really know how to listen to their intuition, or who don't know how to cultivate it, or what to do with this kind of inner urging?
Yeah, great question. There are a few things. I think number one is that often when we're stuck, we like to think our way out of it, and we rely so much on our heads, and we just, we got to think out of this, and we find solutions. And so I guess one thing is that stop thinking, feel, feel, and listen to your heart and feel what's the voice, what's the feeling in your body, and how does that inform you in whatever you do next. And I think it also depends. I was born into a family, we didn't talk about emotions, so feeling was a hard thing to do for me. And that was really the point in my life that I think thinking my way out of or thinking of the solution wasn't working anymore. because all my life I've been thinking, only thinking. And the second thing is listening to your body. It's it is easy and hard at the same time. I always say to people, let's start small. And it could be as simple as when you have a headache, to just pause and then sit with the pain, not for 1 hour. You can just sit with it for a minute or two and just take a deep breath in and just really have a conversation with yourselves and say, like, wow, this is painful. This is painful. And to acknowledge the pain and really sit with it. And I believe the more we do this, the more we are able to listen to the body's signals. And it could be as simple things like, I don't know about you, but I used to hold my pee, like when I have to do stuff, like for work, and I was just like, got no time for that. I just gotta carry on. And this sounds really silly, but I don't ignore this anymore.
Yeah.
Like literally, my body says something, gotta go.
Yeah.
So and I think a lot of this, and also eating, for example, eating, and it's just like pausing yourself and then just listen to your body. Do you feel full? Do you feel like you want more? And I think there is that pause in between, between you saying like, God, this is so good, I want to eat more, to like, actually, my body says no. My body says like, I'm full. And I don't know, I'm just so obsessed about this. Like the body is just so smart. It has so much wisdom. But we were never taught to watch out for all these signals, whether it's for eating more mindfully or watching the stress levels.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think you're right. Even just that holding in your pee thing, it's so funny because the way
True
that I
story.
work, it's true. I mean, I can relate to this because I also do this, but it's more, I'm not really ignoring it. It's more just that the way I work is that I work in 30-minute sprints. So I set a timer and then this is just how I focus. So I just know that for 30 minutes, I will focus on this. I put my phone away, turn off WhatsApp, and I just do this one task. And so even if I have to pee and I see the clock, there's like 5 minutes left. I'm like, do I go now? Do I pause the clock? Do I just wait 5 minutes? Like, what do I do? And so I think you're right that maybe I do need to just pause it, go pee and come back. It's not going to kill anybody to have to tend to my body first and then do the work, right? So that's a really nice reminder for me not to ignore my body just because I want to finish this before the time has run out.
Exactly. Yes. And it's hard, right? I mean, we were never taught that at school, and so we have lived that way for so long. So
Yeah,
be kind to yourself, right? I'm telling myself, it's just having that awareness is always key.
yeah,
And once you are aware, it's easier for you to have this behavioral change and to do that one time and then
yeah.
see what changes in you and your energy, and perhaps no more restless when you're doing your work because you really just honor your needs first.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Absolutely. And I love that you talk so much about the body and the mind and how it relates to each other because for yourself as a mental health fitness coach, you focus a lot on obviously the mind and how people work through that through their everyday life and through their professional life. But I love that this other aspect, I feel like this helps make you unique, is that you have a lot of this somatic or like holistic body and mind connection. Can you talk a little bit more about the somatic work that you're doing? Because I know that you're also really interested in this right now and you might be going through some trainings. Like, how did you find this and how do you feel like it's easily adapting to your work right now?
Yeah, for me, it seems like a a natural transition because I was very disconnected with my body and I couldn't feel easily. And so I think that the tendency, I'm still working on that now, by the way. So I'm still a work in progress. Um, but I do have a lot of awareness, and I am trying to change my behaviors, the way I listen to my body, and how I can actually create that body-mind connections when it comes to decision making, and embarking on changes in my life, because I feel like I've been living and breathing change for the last 2 decades. And so I think it started with this physical health issues I had, that I just didn't get it. I was sick all the time when I was, the years of my being a corporate warrior, and sick all the time. And I had this sciatica after the birth of our daughter, and that was left untreated. And I just didn't pay attention, and I didn't do sports, and I abandoned sports, in fact. And I just really felt a lot of pain. I remember there was a day that I couldn't stop crying, because it was even painful while sitting. And so I also went through the therapy for it, and I realized that there wasn't enough amount of the therapy that I did that could fix my body. So I got really frustrated. So I went to chiropractor. I think I signed up for like 3 years. And each year, it was like kind of treating the symptoms only, and then it came back. So then I had to come back. So I remember the chiropractor actually told me that, Catherine, do you do sports? And I said, no, I'm too busy for that. So I, I actually had to, I had a really demanding job. I had to oversee the global growth. And then, so I worked across time zones. My bosses were in the US and in London, and I was based in Singapore. So I just work around the clock.
Mm.
And then, so I remember there was one day he told me that you can keep paying me for another year, or you decide to focus on strengthening your body.
Hmm.
And I literally, for a second, I thought that was insane. You wouldn't want to get my money, and then you're telling me to actually do sports. Because I had this habit of like, take the painkiller, right?
Yes.
Just do this band-aid
Yeah.
solutions, and didn't want to go into the root cause.
Yes.
And so it just didn't make sense to me what he said. But then he was serious. And then I thought, okay, well, maybe he's got the point. So I decided to prioritize my sports. And then from then on, I also work with a coach, and a lot of it is about feeling the emotions, the stress, the frustrations, feeling stuck, and all of that really helped me to just listen to what my heart desires. I wanted change in my life, and to really listen that change was the way to go, versus my mind telling me, don't change,
Yeah.
don't rock the boat. And then there was this misalignment, right? And it made me
Yes.
even more confused. And so that was I would say the very first things that made me curious about somatic, or um, listening to my body more, and prioritizing physical health and mental health as
Hmm.
well. So I really feel like this connection is so important for me. And yes, I know the mind is so important,
Hmm.
but relying on the mind alone isn't the way to go, isn't sustainable, at least not for me personally. So it really is about the balance, and tapping into the wisdom of the body as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's obviously both of them are very important individually, but I think when you put them together, it creates the universe of you as a human, as an individual. So you can't just have only body or only mind. They have to work in tandem together because, you know, they're one.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting that you bring this somatic practice and the mental health fitness into your work, because I think it's true that you work with a lot of corporates or people who are very ambitious and driven, and so they're all driven up here by the mind, right? But they don't pay attention to their body. So it's really important that when they're making changes or when they start listening to their intuition, that they also have to pay attention to their physical body, their spiritual body, and then also their health and wellness, right?
Yeah.
So you do, I know that you work in terms of mental fitness. Can you describe a little bit about what that actually means? How does that work into your work? And yeah, just tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, with pleasure. Mental fitness is really the state where um, when your thoughts and emotions no longer have power over you because you take control, and you are the one knowing how to respond to the situations. And this takes practice, and I'm a work in progress myself. But mental fitness for me is the mind and the body, right? The feelings, the heart. So it really is about um, this body mind connection. It's just inseparable. And yes, so for this one, it is very important for the people I work with, typically high achievers, high performers. They would like to unlock the next level, or they would like to embark on change. And I think the idea is that the idea of possibilities, the idea of this life of no limits, um, we can achieve that once we are mentally fit, so that we can actually recover faster. Because I'm not saying that challenges um, will not be there, because life comes with a lot of challenges, right? But it really is about training the mind, training the body, training the heart, and really create these strong inner foundations for you to recover faster. So it's never about avoiding. It's not about toxic positivity and saying like be positive all the time. It really is about recovering faster,
Mhm.
and that's what sets people apart. When it comes to we call it people who thrive, and people who seem to get it together. And it's just more sustainable, because I always say to my clients, you slow down because you want to aim for sustainability, you want to aim for sustainable productivity. You don't want to aim for speed and then you crash down and then you recover slower.
Yeah.
So it really is about slowing down, have sustainable productivity and over speed, because I knew what it's like to prioritize speed in the previous chapter of my life. It's not worth it. And it's just not worth it. And I think in a way, our society is changing, thankfully, but it used to be that way, that, very much into this competitiveness versus collaborations. And there is this kind of like a big masculine energy, not about the gender, right? It really is about the energy of the masculine energy, which is more about being aggressive, being dominant and competitiveness, versus just like flow, patience, and really like listening and creating that space for curiosity and slowing down. So I really believe in both, in balancing both. So being mindful when you're too much attached on one energy. It really is about time that you balance both, because at some point when we're too attached on one energy, um, I really believe that it is not going to be sustainable. So at one point, the person would have a burnout, or high anxiety, depressed, right? So that's really going to lead people to slower recovery afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you talk about this kind of masculine, feminine energy. And even though, those can be stereotypical energy, it's also yin and yang, right? So it's the
Yes,
assertiveness, the dominance, but also the ability to slow down, to take stock of what's going on. And it's actually never like one channel or the other. It's actually how do you balance both of them and do them in a way that they're harmonious with each other. Otherwise, you're just going to be a
absolutely.
bit bipolar, having like the angel or the devil on your shoulders. And I think this is really important because also with, corporates or female founders, anywhere in life, you will have this kind of balance that is necessary to determine which way you want to go, right? And another thing that you mentioned is change a lot. I think this is a really big theme that's within your work, as well as obviously you as a person, because I feel that you thrive on change as well. Or at least you really like it and you've managed to become very resilient to it, because I think, as we know, change is really the only constant, right? So whether it's in your personal life and your professional life, there's always going to be changes, ones that you initiate and ones that you may have no control over. So I feel that your work is so important because with mental fitness, it's really about building the resilience, building the confidence, and the ability to adapt. And if you get knocked down, that's normal, right? It's all about up and down. It's never
Go
about
back
being,
up.
yeah, exactly. So you mentioned change a lot. I know that you've changed countries, continents, languages, jobs a lot. I guess what's your advice for people who maybe they're a little bit resistant to change and they don't really know how to accept it, and also culture in the world is changing, thank God. But I guess how do people handle change when especially it's out of their control and they just don't have any visibility, or it's just not something that they had chosen? Like, how do you handle this type of change?
Yeah, certainly it's different when it's by choice or not. And I have experienced both. And I think one thing that I would um, love people know is, and I think a lot of people overlook this step, is to really make space for their emotions because it's extremely draining when you're in this stage and anxiety inducing stage as well. And I think what I have experienced for myself was that I completely overlooked the amount of uh, emotions and that I had to process them. Versus, just kind of like telling myself like, keep going, like next, like, you can do it. And not seeking help or not really make space for the emotions because I think I felt that if I share that too much, people would think that I am weak, and I
Hmm.
had a problem to be seen as a weak person. It was a discovery during my work with my coach,
Yeah.
that I had so much discomfort when somebody would label me as weak. Oh,
Hmm.
I couldn't stand that. So I
But is
think it
that
stays.
is that like a label that someone gave to you? Like they just said, Catherine, you're
No.
so weak, or is this a story that you told yourself?
No, I think I was holding on to this image
Mm,
that I'm a strong person
yeah.
because I had to kind of like um I had to be independent early on,
Hmm.
and I don't come from a rich family, so my parents really struggled. When I was young, I moved homes, rental homes for like 6, 7 times. And then I just had this passion and fire that I uh I don't know what age it was, maybe around 11, 12. I said to myself that, hmm, I am going to be the one in this family who's going to save this family
Hmm.
financially.
Hmm.
And it's crazy. I still have that image like vividly, like when I was that young. I just took it on because I saw that I saw my brother. He's really, really, a at the time, we didn't have any issues together, but I
Hmm.
just saw my brother and I said, no, I think it's gonna be me, not him. It's basically gonna be me. And so I look at my parents, and I also felt like I think my younger self sensed it, that
Yeah.
not quite sure if they could actually find a way out. So
Hmm.
I just felt like it's gotta be me,
Yeah.
and it will be me. So that has been my focus, to just find a way. How do we get out of this financial issues? So obviously it didn't take overnight, but that was really the one point that made me feel like, I'm really passionate about this. And sorry, let's back to your question. What was you I'm trying to think?
Sorry,
What
you
was
broke
it that
up.
you?
I also just forgot. But I think it's okay. Like it's really interesting that you talk about being the chain breaker in your family, like being the one in this particular generation, not just, in this
Oh,
generation, but also within the generation of your brother and your siblings. You are going to be the one of all your siblings and or cousins to stop this pattern and to make the change for your family. So I feel like change is just inherently within your system, from such a
yeah.
young age. And
Yes.
yeah.
And I remember now, the reason why we came there. And yes, yes to everything you said around breaking the cycle. I'm very
Hmm.
conscious. It's such a personal journey that I'm very conscious. I'm telling myself this stops with me, and
Yes.
there's a lot in my list that this stops with me. And I'm very determined about that. And but also at the same time, I said earlier that what people overlook is to really make space for their emotions.
Yes.
So if you had to be independent early on in your life, you might, or you probably didn't grow up in a family where you embrace emotions, talk about
Hmm.
emotions, then you are likely to avoid feeling the emotions.
Hmm.
And there is so much power of feeling it. It's just this thing that when you give yourself permission to cry, and you
Yeah.
feel much better after you cry. So trusting that when you process it, in fact, the faster that your recovery is. And so I really believe in that. So the suggestion I have, if you embark on change, if you decide, if you feel ready to embark on change, don't miss this step. Don't miss and skip this step,
Yeah.
to make space for your emotions, because there's so much power, and you can recover quicker when you allow and give yourself permission to feel these emotions. And after that is a lot of the self-awareness, self-discovery journey, so that you embark on change from the inside out, versus chasing someone else's dreams, or living the definition of success that society created for you.
Yeah.
So I think the self-awareness, self-discovery is so important, because only the people who've done that really can create the lives on their terms, because they
Hmm.
create it from the inside out. And I think it's so important, because if you keep doing it from outside in, one way or another, you're gonna make a detour. And
Hmm.
and yeah, and if you and who's got time for a detour, right? There's so many things in life already that we have to
Life is a big detour.
yeah. So yeah, that's what I would share around making space for emotions, but also take your time to just discover yourself, self-awareness, self-discovery. And to your point earlier, I think with years of conditioning, I
Hmm.
always say that when your 5-year-old self, you see that anything and everything is possible. And whatever happened to you as an adult, that you start thinking that, things are no longer as how it used to be. You think that more and more things are impossible. So I guess, telling yourself again and again that the self-awareness, self-discovery is really about you recovering your essence,
Yeah.
uh, to unlock your potential. But for that, you really need to slow down and really work on your self-awareness and discovering yourself, to reconnect with yourself.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's so powerful to talk about these things like processing your emotions and even just the first step of recognizing that you never did, I think is really key. And then every time that happens again, when you realize you're not processing your emotions, it's important to just sit still and kind of deal with it, and it's okay to sit with the comfort. But I think another important thing about change is also being able to find that community of people again, or people who are similar minded to you, or people who have gone through that similar change as you, so that you can relate to them and you feel less alone, right? And I think it's important to find the support system or this network of people who have also gone through this change, even if it's, slightly different than you or not exactly the same path as you, but someone who has experienced such a life change, whether it's having kids, moving countries, moving jobs, switching career fields, industries. I know that here in Strasbourg, you're doing a lot of work with community and creating that type of network. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you're doing here and how you've kind of created this own support system for yourself here?
Yeah, thanks for asking. The community I built here is really about turning my pain into purpose. And I have moved from Singapore to Strasbourg 2 years ago and felt quiet, felt like life was really, really hard. We moved in the middle of winter, and the children were 7 and 9 years old, and my husband moved here, and this is a city where he knew nothing about. So then when we got here, the two of my kids were not happy, and also my husband found it really hard when it comes to dealing with winter. So then I just really felt like I had to help and support them to feel better again. And then now it just it was just difficult because I was really trying to stand on my own feet as well at the same time.
Yeah.
So I don't know why it was hard. Now I know why it was hard, because when I moved countries before, those were without the kids. And
Mm,
the only one time we did move with the children, but they're still like 1 year and 3 years old,
right.
right? So I'm dealing with children um, who who they have their own memories of, spending time with their
Yes.
friends in Singapore. So I think they have emotions, right?
Yes.
And so then a lot of things came up, and then it was just extremely hard to make space for them, and I wanted them to make space for their emotions, but they also need help. So yeah, it was really hard, and then I had to stop working because I had to help them, and I just felt it was so difficult to find a community of people who are on the same journey of deepening this personal development, well-being, which are really my biggest interest, and also looking for this meaningful connections with people. So I've tried a few kind of like social meetups, but I guess I feel I'm in the age that I just wanted to do things more. I just wanted to meet people in a different way, like in the form of like a circle or a networking. And so that's how I created this with a friend who felt the same way. And then, in fact, without overthinking it, we just said, well, let's do it. There's only one problem. We didn't know many people at the time. So we're kind of crazy. But we made it. We had a good start. We had 8 people coming in the first session. And then now, it started growing organically.
Hmm.
And so yeah, that's how it started. I really wanted to meet people who are on a similar journey of deepening their growth and personal development and well-being. And yeah, because living in a new country, and you're in a different stage of life, you want to find some common points with people, and I think it's a lot faster to create, your own tribe, so to say.
Yeah, and it's really amazing because, so you're not going to name it, but I will name it. So your community is called Wider Lens, and you started in Strasbourg with a friend. And I think it started just as a small group. And then now, which I think is really incredible, but you're just being so humble and modest about it, it's turned into this big WhatsApp community. And it's not just personal development, it's also you kind of created this other community for the female founders as well. And for a while, they were running in parallel under the same branch or umbrella of Wider Lens. And then since then, you've merged it into a larger WhatsApp community using the actual community feature. And now there's different subgroups or sub channels where women can come in and talk about anything under the sun, from book club to health to anything female founder related or business related, like legal things. And then what's even cooler now is that we've also gotten another branch in Lyon, right? So do you want to talk about what happened recently where we had an event and what's been happening there, and also your future events out in the south of France? What's going on for you there?
Yeah, so yeah, Lyon chapter was unexpected. I think one thing, a big lesson here, which is something that I didn't do before in the other countries where I used to live, was that I felt like I was waiting, waiting, waiting for the group to be created by somebody. And I think what was different here was that I told myself, stop waiting, just create something. And then maybe I felt ready for it. And then also I told myself that I think in the past country chapters, I felt like I always did it half-heartedly because I had a lot of fear of, like, I don't want to be so close to people here because maybe I will leave in 2 years, in 3 or 4 years, and so I don't need to be so close, because to me at the time it was like emotions distract me. I had, in my opinion, quite a big responsibility to save my family, and and so I wanted to stay focused, right? So when it comes to that, I felt like I just did it half-heartedly. So I think what's different here is that I just go full in. I said to myself, I want to make this such an awesome chapter for me. And if somebody out there, more people out there can benefit, that's great. But there is absolutely zero expectations, because sometimes when I have expectations, I am so attached to the outcome, and then I'm not open to, like, I like this non-linear kind of like um, path, that because that allows me to be open and explore. And then, yeah, and then these two people, Emma and Jin, actually come forward and then said that they wanted to kick off the Lyon chapter. I was flattered. I was like, what? But also then I told myself, this is the power of trusting and then just stay open. So yeah, so
Mhm.
now the young chapter started, and so I can't tell you where this is going, but I there is so much power in collective knowledge and collective wisdom, and yeah, this is really for those who really want to make their French chapter full
Yes,
and colorful, and then just go all in, because hey, life is really short, so why not make the most out of it while we can.
exactly. Cool. It's so inspiring that even just you creating the space, other people feel inspired to also use it as their playground to also lead, right? So maybe it's a nice way for Emma and Jin to lead, but also with the support of you of the bigger group. So it's cool for them to be able to create something of their own community, because they were probably also thinking like, well, where is this group that we need as well? Let's just make it ourselves. And it's really interesting that they can be part of this more France regional network, and that
Thank
way,
you.
yeah. So it's really cool what you're doing. And just to wrap up our conversation today, Where can we find you online? Like, where do you want people to look for you? How do they join your community or WhatsApp groups? Where do you want people to look for you?
Yeah, I love kind and ambitious people who are who feel ready to slow down and really, seek this sustainable productivity. And I guess what's so important is that you are taking charge of your life and want to create this limitless lives on your terms. Whether that looks like uh, working in a corporate, climbing the corporate ladder, to see that you can really create the life that you want. And also, if you want to create something else outside, knowing that's possible. So really, I want to help people to actually create limitless lives on their own terms. So they can find us on LinkedIn group. There is a LinkedIn group community called Stepping Up. And I would love to have you there. And if you listen to this and if you feel that what I said speak to you, and yeah, and or just find me on LinkedIn itself and or my website www.stepping-up.co.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Catherine, for being here today. I hope that our conversation together will inspire other people to consider change, or if they're navigating change, feel that they are not alone and to find a community, whether it's Stepping Up or if they're physically in Strasbourg, to be able to join Waterlands as well. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us? Any other wisdom or knowledge? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I want to say that you are many things. And I think the society or the past chapter, the past society, um, kind of like wanted to tell us that we are one thing. And I think it would be good to remind people and encourage people to think that, you're not one thing. You can be many things. And you don't have to have a linear path, and you can explore something else, right? Because change is going to be constant, even more
Yes.
in the future of work. And it's we're in this transition now, I would say, and it's so important to build that agility, adaptability skills, and resilience skills right now, and
Mhm.
to really believe that you're not just one thing. So
Mhm.
that's one thing that I would like to share.
Thank you, Catherine. That's super inspiring. And I think in a world where it's so multifaceted now, we no longer have to adhere to one path or one way. And even if you are going in one direction, it's okay to pivot and change into something else. And I think this
Yes,
is a message that we all need to really listen and sink into us. And it's okay to change, and to even almost seek change, because it's going to happen anyway. So you might as well just embrace it.
exactly. Thank you, Josie, for welcoming me. And
Yay.
yeah, I hope that was useful for your audience. Look
Yes.
forward to
I'm really
hearing
excited to
from
share
you.
this with everyone. All right. Thank you so much for being here, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. Bye.